everyone, this is your Module 7 Rates and Ratios review. At the next station, you're going to be taking your test, so it's super important that you're listening, that you're trying your best, and if you don't understand something, rewind and really try to understand and make sure you know what you're doing. So this is going to be a quick refresh redo. If I can find my pencil. Got it. Okay, so you should have this paper in front of you, and you should find your pencil too. And we're going to talk about ratios. And remember, there were three different ways that you could find, or you could express a ratio. You could say something like 2:3, or 2/3, or 2:3. Those were the three different ways we could write it. So in this case, it's going to give you a table, and it's going to say find the ratio for each one. So how do I find the ratio? White socks to brown socks. I'm going to look at my white socks. I'm going to look at my brown socks. And I'm going to say this could be 8:5. Or you could write it 8/5. Or you could write it 8:5. Any of those would work. Pause the video. Try the next two problems. And then unpause to see the answers. All right, so for blue to non-blue, there are 4 blue, 17 that are not blue. I just counted those up. And then I have 6 black socks to all of the black socks. If I counted those up and include those black socks in there, there would be 23. So those were your two answers for this next problem. Okay, I noticed for this next problem that a lot of us had trouble on the quiz with this. So I just want to make sure to reiterate what equivalent means. So let's say, for example, I have the ratio 5/... Sorry, changed my mind. Let's do 3/4. So if I want to write equivalent fractions to 3/4, we can think about things that both top and bottom could be multiplied. Like if I multiplied the top by 2 and the bottom by 2, that would be 6/8. Those are two equivalent fractions. They're equal. They are the same ratio. We could even multiply this again. We could take 3 times 3 and 4 times 3, and that would end up giving us 9/12. That is also an equivalent ratio. So all three of these are equivalent ratios. Okay, so I want you to look at this problem, and it says, which of the following ratios is equivalent to 2/3, or like 2/3? I want you to pause the video and try. Okay, hopefully you saw that 4/6, if I would multiply both top and bottom by 2, it would give me an equivalent 4/6. None of the answers work, and that's the right one. All right, those were our ratios. Now we're talking about rates. And a lot of what we talked about were unit rates, something per one. So in this first one, Earl runs 75 meters in 30 seconds. So he runs 75 meters in 30 seconds, over 30 seconds. How many does he run per second? Well, when we're doing per second or per one unit, one thing, all we have to do is divide. And that was like problem number 2 on your quiz today. So I'm taking 75 divided by 30. Okay, some of us mix that up. The top number goes on the inside, 75 divided by 30, and that's going to give us, it can go in twice. That's 60, gives us 15, 150, and 30 can go into 150. 5 times, but there should have been a decimal here, Mrs. Stubbs. So, because I had to rocket my decimal up here. So this means that Earl can run 2.5 meters per second. In 1 second, he can run 2.5 meters. And remember, a lot of times you need to use unit rates. I know on the Kahoot there's a problem where you want to compare different things. So you're going to find the unit rate per one to try to help you out. So what I'd like you to do is pause the video, you try number 6, and then unpause the video to see the answer. All right, so if we are finding the unit price, I did $262 or $26.25. That's how much it cost me for 3 scarves. And remember, when I'm dividing, I'm trying to find per one, so I'm going to just go ahead and divide, and I end up with $8.75 per one scarf. If you didn't get this, pause that video to make sure you can see all my work. Sorry if you hear those rings. My sister Autumn, you know, the one who likes to order Chick-fil-A and is really obnoxious when she does it, she's trying to call me. Of course, when I'm trying to make a video, what would Autumn do? Be annoying and try to call. No, I love my sister, but she just, you know how she gets me, guys. Okay, so flip it over to the back. This is where we were finally starting to talk about ratios and rates, and we were comparing them using WKU. So all of these problems on the back are WKU problems to really get us going with it. So W, what word? Known, unknown. First one, there are 32 female performers in a dance recital. The ratio of men to women is 3 to 8. How many men are in the dance recital? So word ratio is that we have men over women, right? It says the ratio is 3 over 8. So that would be 3 over 8, because remember, we can write these all different ways. Now, what do we know and what do we not know? There's 32 female performers, so that means 32 goes on the bottom, X goes on the top, okay? All right, at this point, again, you have a couple of options. Option number 1 is to cross multiply. So this would be 8 times X equals 3 times 32. And so over on the side, I can take 32 times 3, and I get 696. So I have 8x equals 96. And remember, when those 8 times x is squished together, we have to do the inverse operation. We have to divide both sides by 8. So this gives me x equals 2, and if I want to do over here, 96 divided by 8, 8 goes into 9 once, so this is 8, 12. Come on, Mrs. Stubbs, you got to know your 12s. So x equals 12, meaning there were 12 men in the recital. So that's one way. Pause if you want to go through that way. I just want to refresh our brains that there was another way that was much faster. If I wanted to, I could also say, oh, how do I get from 8 to 32? I multiply by 4. So to get from 3 to x, I multiply by 4. Okay? All right. I want you to do WKU for these next 2 problems. Pause your video and see if you can do that. Okay, for this first one about Annabelle, I was finding gallons over miles, and so I know 5 over 140 equals 7 over x, and unfortunately in this problem, you do have to cross multiply 140 times 7 and 5 times x. You should get x equals 196. On this next problem, I was out of luck too, where I was going to have to do cross multiplication. I saw that this was lemonade over water because we're doing scoops over water. So 4 scoops of lemonade over 2.5 equals 10 scoops of lemonade over how much water. So I had to cross multiply, then I had to do some decimal work, and I found that x equals 2.5. If you don't understand, pause the video where you don't understand and really look at the work and try it over again. All right, I have a challenge problem for you. Go ahead and pause the video. Let's see if anyone can get the challenge. All right, so here's my work for the challenge. The tricky part was you had to first find out how many guitarists there were. And I found that because it says 5/8 of. And remember, when you see that of word, most of the time it means to multiply. So I did my work over here on how to find that, and then I could do WKU. All right, good work, guys. If you were struggling with anything, make sure you go back. The answer was A. All right, I'm excited for you to take your test. Woohoo!